Hey there, this is John,
And I'm Josh.
and we are here to talk to you about the results of Week 7 of NCAA college football. And we're going to jump into the upsets because it was a week of upsets.
It's quite the week of college football for ranked teams.
Yeah.
And so we'll start with the SEC.
All right.
It was Tennessee at number 21 Auburn.
Yes.
And
so everybody knew Auburn had been struggling up to this point,
true.
but nobody thought that Tennessee could come in and win this game.
Right, because Tennessee's just not a very good football team.
They're
And
not.
yet, they beat Auburn. Red flags are already everywhere on Auburn this year. This just shows the mediocrity that Auburn is at right now, and that Gus needs to be gone.
Well, and people are starting to think that.
Yeah.
But, again, it depends on how he plays Alabama.
There you go.
That's the measure of that.
It's very true.
Unfortunately for Auburn, that's sort of the measure of their team, is only whether they can beat Alabama or not. And that's a horrible
If
measurement.
they beat Alabama, the coach stays.
He
There you
stays. Yeah. All right. And then the other SEC team was Georgia and LSU. Okay, did anybody see this coming?
Yes, because I lost money in this game.
Oh, no.
Apparently other people except me saw. I thought Georgia was a phenomenal team.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't been paying close attention. Maybe I
Well,
didn't see the holes
and we
stuff.
remember we talked about the chinks in the armor last week.
We did, but LSU beating them by 20
Yeah.
points, 36-16.
And everybody's thinking that what that means is that LSU is here.
Right, and they've already lost the game this season, but I don't think it was necessarily their fault. It was kind of just bad playing on their part. Didn't really reflect their team as a whole. But beating Georgia by 20 points
That's a solid
just
win.
makes me think LSU, can they compete with Alabama? Can they come in that game, do something?
They
Who
might.
knows? Good job, LSU.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, then hey, you got an upset right. So you had a good call this past week. Michigan State, Penn State. I don't think anybody saw this one.
Right.
coming.
This was Michigan State scored on their final drive, and then Penn State had to do the same thing. And Penn State's ability to throw the Hail Mary ball was embarrassing to watch.
Yeah. Well,
if you watched that game, they tried to do stuff. They didn't give their quarterback time to even throw the ball far. It was a good game by Michigan State.
I'm amazed that Michigan State pulled that off because they had an opportunity really just to tie the game up, getting a field goal,
Right.
and just be able to tie. But no, they score a touchdown and put it away.
Right, so that puts me at 4-13
in front of Penn State's crowd.
Yeah.
Once again, Penn State sees another one of these losses. Yikes.
So I'm now 4-13 with upsets on the season. We'll talk about the one I missed later on.
Okay. All right. And so then we had West Virginia and Iowa State. West Virginia ranked as that, the Will Grier Heisman touted quarterback. I don't think anybody's talking about him for Heisman anymore.
Not anymore, because he really showed his flaws in that game.
Yeah.
And has been throughout the season, especially with interceptions and stuff. Just disappointing game for West Virginia.
Which is funny because Iowa State has not had a great season, but they did
Iowa State is the king, including last year. They're kind of like the Northwestern of the Big 12.
Yeah.
They beat good teams.
Yeah.
They do. They absolutely beat them.
Because they had not, again, they've lost some ugly games.
But then they almost beat Oklahoma.
And then they beat Oklahoma State.
Beat Oklahoma
so maybe
State.
They're just coming on stronger
West Virginia.
as they're going on in the season. So, and then we had Washington and Oregon.
Poor Chris Peterson.
Yeah.
Just like back in the old
rough.
days. Missed the field goal at the end. His team did what they needed to do.
And they even had a great field goal kicker, and he still missed the field goal in the end. And just seconds to put that game away and weren't able to do it. It was pretty sad for Washington. Oregon, of course, it was their home crowd, so they were incredibly excited to win that in overtime.
They're both good football teams.
They are.
Pay attention to them for the rest of the season.
As far as Pac-12 is concerned, they got the game out of that game that they wanted.
Oh,
It was a battle all the way down to the end.
And I would say they're the two best teams in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
so
I would say so.
There you go.
Yep. And then we had number 16 Miami played Virginia. To me, this is just showing that Miami was overranked.
Yeah, but Virginia?
Overrated.
Virginia is a pretty poor football team as a whole. Yeah. And to beat a ranked team in general, I don't care if you're overrated or not. If you're in the top 25,
they were happy, I'm sure.
You should beat Virginia.
Yes. Then USC played Colorado, and Colorado was a ranked team and coming into that one.
They were one of the undefeated teams.
Yeah, and so USC, just pretty much. I mean, not okay. Dominated might be a little strong, 11-point game, but 31-20. I mean, USC didn't struggle against Colorado,
right. So
that was rough in Colorado.
Just show Colorado's chinks.
Yeah,
they're not as great as people thought.
Then just some of the ones to mention weren't upsets. Missouri and Alabama. Alabama won that one 39-10.
Right.
Things to mention. Has an injury. Actually, a couple of Alabama's receivers ended up having injuries.
I think the moral of the story is that Jerry Judy's just a freaking monster, and that it doesn't matter what quarterback's throwing the ball to him, he's going to make him.
And then, of course, Jalen Hurts comes in, and his passing has improved tremendously.
Absolutely,
since last year.
He honestly looks like a pretty exceptional quarterback as well.
And we hear that Tua is cleared to play against Tennessee, though. I don't know that Saban will actually do that, because do they really need him to play against Tennessee? No. We'll get into that for next week's game. But then we had Minnesota at Ohio State.
It was close for a little bit, and then Ohio State ends up towards the end of the game just being the dominant team and winning.
Yeah, Minnesota scored 14 points in the first half, and so it looked like they're sort of hanging with them. But as most of these games go, the strong team comes on in the second half, and it was over. And then Pittsburgh and Notre Dame, another close one.
They almost won this game. It was so close until the very end, but Notre Dame was able to scrape by. They confuse me. Notre Dame confuses me as a football team. I don't get how they can just destroy a good team one week and then struggle against just a mediocre team. But hey,
and Pittsburgh is
still
mediocre at best.
They are undefeated, right?
Who? Notre Dame? They are.
They're still undefeated.
They're ranked number 4 now, so they're in that top 4. And then we had your other upset alert that was not successful.
So close.
Though, it was a close game. I mean, Baylor at Texas, and Baylor hung with them.
And this was my reasoning was that Texas was just going to be pretty tired after their defeat of Oklahoma.
Which I'm sure they were.
And I honestly think that played into it. I think that
why it was so close.
Yeah, I do, and I don't think Baylor is anywhere near the talent that Texas has as a football team. That being said, I do foresee Texas at least losing one or two more.
I think it really showed that Texas didn't even score in the second half.
Right.
It's almost like they're out of gas, but fortunately they had gotten up far enough, and their defense was able to hold on to keep them from going behind. But
Baylor almost scores at the very end of the game, but then they can't get in the end zone.
All right, so what about number 10 UCF struggling with Miami? Okay, with Memphis. Now, we said Memphis was not a bad team.
Right, they were 4-2 going into the game.
They're still not a great team. They're a mediocre team.
Honestly, this game alone,
in a weak conference,
if UCF goes undefeated, could make it so they don't get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because as a group of 5 team, you have to win every single one of your games by like 30+ points to even be noticed. And struggling against Memphis, that's not doing your job. So
basically, UCF, they're ranked number 10 coming into this, have a win, and they stay ranked number 10. UCF, I'm sure they're saying they're not getting any respect, but
if you win a game by 1 point, you don't deserve respect.
And I mentioned to you, especially against somebody like Memphis, I mentioned to you that if you look at teams number 11 through at least number 18, that UCF could not beat one of those teams.
Most likely not, unless they just pull off some.
It would just be
matchup wise.
It would be
they're the weaker team.
They are the weaker team against all those teams. So really, they're fortunate to be ranked number 10, and they're only ranked number 10 because they've got that long winning streak going.
Right.
So we have the other one was number 15 Wisconsin at number 12 Michigan. And this one was Wisconsin early on, sort of hung in there a little bit, but second half it was way gone.
And I think this comes down probably to coaching. Jim Harbaugh has his team coached incredibly well, and he knows how to win big games. And so coming into this, they just looked confident and looked like they outmatched Wisconsin in almost every way.
Well, Michigan will move on up in the rankings, and they probably should continue to climb unless there's just something crazy like what happened this past week.
Have they played Ohio State yet?
No, and they play Michigan State next week.
Right.
So. And then the final one was Boise State, and they played Nevada.
Right, it was at Nevada.
Yeah, and
super
they won
close
31-27, and had to have what wasn't it, a fourth down play?
Right, we were up and we wanted to end the game, so we went for it on 4th and 8. Got it. In the end, the Boise fans like me have kind of had to lower our expectations of the season and are now pretty much just trying to win the Mountain West instead of bigger pictures. And I think it comes down to the fact that we just don't have a run game and our offensive line is struggling because when Ripon has time, I think he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the country.
I agree.
I mean, the stats show that he has 3 interceptions this game. 2 of the interceptions were, I was telling you, bounced off a receiver's hands and landed inside a defender, safety, or
so
quarterback.
They should have been caught.
They weren't interceptions. They were good passes. That
it's almost more like a fumble. But
honestly, yes.
Yeah.
But besides that, Ripon...
He had almost 300 yards, like 299, I think.
In the second half, his first, I think, 12 passes were completions.
Yeah.
And 2 of those were like 40-yard touchdown throws. So he did what he needed to do, and he won the game. No thanks to the run.
That's right. Well, so that was the crazy Week 7. A lot of things that we didn't expect, but hey, that's college football.
Yeah.
So join us again for Week 8's preview, but glad you were here.